Rain of Troy Hotline.
Alicia, Michael, what's going on?
We know you have takes. We have takes.
I'm actually surprised that your rant line, rave line, whatever, isn't completely full.
Why can't we just win a game?
Can I blame Michael Castillo for this?
Can I blame Bob Connolly for this?
Could I put on a zebra shirt and just go out there? Scratch, claw, up against the wall.
Can't explain it what I'm feeling right now, guys.
I can't believe it.
Let's open up that race line! Woohoo!
Oh, I can't believe USC is undefeated in the SEC. Wait, we're in the Big Ten. What's our record? Oh, no!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Retro Radio, episode 587, coming to you on Thursday, February 6th. We're a day late, but we'll explain in a minute. A lot of stuff happening around USC football. Signing day was yesterday. SC has new staffers on the recruiting staff, the front office. We're going to get to all of that. There were new staff press conferences. We're going to talk about some highlights there and so much more here on this episode. As always, you can follow us on social media at Rant of Troy. Email us, rantoftroy@fanside.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227, Second West Bruin Show. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, journalist, my co-host here in the Rant Troy studio in Los Angeles, Alicia D'Artola.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, it's February 6th. I said we're a day late. It's because we have a special guest today, a special guest who decided that Thursday would be better. And so we're introducing our addition to the Rant of Troy team. Welcome to the show, Badger. If you're watching us on YouTube, here you go.
Oh my gosh. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. She's reaching into a box, and she has just pulled out an Australian Shepherd puppy.
Mr. Badger, say hi to the folks.
She is holding him, for our radio listeners, audio only, she's holding him like Simba.
Simba.
Oh, you don't need to show the undercarriage.
Did I give a lot of undercarriage there?
Yeah, like
I'm laughing.
Not for free.
I'm laughing because this, you guys have no idea. This okay, for those at home, it's a 10-week-old Australian Shepherd puppy. He looks like a border. His face looks like Jesse's, just more spotted, and then his back is all like white and spotted and gray. So, while we were waiting to set up the episode, I have him in a little box next to me. He was whining and barking and insisting that I play with him and doing all sorts of mucking around. And then as soon as we started recording, this dog just plopped down and was already sleeping.
We love it.
I woke him up to show him.
He's freaking awesome, dude.
I love it. That's a dog that knows how to play a role in the Rant of Troy team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Team player.
Badger, this is day 3 for us. Sort of on a whim, bringing old Badger home. So we got Badger and Jesse, and then of course Skinny Pete and Combo are not breathing because they're stuffed, but that's a different story. Anyways, so if you hear any little whelpings, is it yelping or whelping? What's the...
I have no idea.
Are they both things?
If you hear puppy noises, then yes, it literally is a puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were going to record yesterday, but all hell broke loose with this little guy. This is probably why we're not parents.
Yeah.
The unpreparedness over here.
I've been laughing because this is my first puppy. And all my other adoptions have been like they've been a year old or around that age or older. And my mom has not rolled her eyes at us getting a puppy, but she has projected big eye-rolly energy because she would rather us just, give her another grandchild. And 3 days with this puppy.
Badger is a grandchild.
I mean, he is, yeah. A human grandchild. And 3 days with this puppy has made me parenting sounds really hard So kudos to all of you who have done it with newborn children, with newborn babies.
Not only that, having a newborn after you've had one before.
Yeah.
Like when you see families who are like, here are my kids, they're 8, 7, and 5. How did you do that, dude? Like, how? You know what I mean?
If you ask my mom, the key is to have children at intervals that allow the older children to start assisting in the childcare.
But see, this isn't good because, Jesse could be of age here to provide some seniority to Badger. And Jesse currently, I'm pretty sure, is hiding under the bed.
Yeah, she thinks everything in the universe will try to kill her.
Badger included.
Badger included. Yeah. She deeply skeptical of Badger. You won't get this reference, and we will stop yapping about the dog soon. We'll have a lot of USC stuff to talk to, but you will get this reference, Mike. You will not get this reference, Michael, but some people out there will. I want to say it's Galaxy Quest, where they go to the planet where it's a movie, and where they go to that planet and there's like that really cute little alien thing and just like, oh, he's so cute, and then suddenly like the teeth come out and it's like, rah! Like that's what Jesse thinks that Badger is gonna do. So that's where we're at as far as our household goes.
Yeah. So there's Badger, who is the little puppy, and then there's Jesse, who's sort of the underbed dog.
Ooh, can I do the transition?
Go ahead.
Okay. We have been cleaning up a lot of poop lately. Mm-hmm. And as it so happens, so have Jen Cohen and Lincoln Riley. Cleaning up the mess that was made.
See, that wasn't the transition I was trying to make.
Oh, okay.
I was going to talk about Jessie is the underbed dog.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Could you call her an underdog?
All right, toss it to me.
And then I got really concerned about where you were going to go with our sponsor segue there.
Oh, no, sorry. Okay, toss it to me after you speak about our wonderful sponsor.
Yes, our wonderful sponsor, Underdog, who I like to pick. I hope you like to pick Underdog as well. The big game coming up on Sunday. It's super exciting. It's the best app for the big game party actually on your phone. It's Underdog. Underdog, the best place to cash in on all your takes during the big game, which are players going off, and which player is going to go ice cold during the big game. Make your entries in just a few taps. With their pick'em game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and more. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. You want to pick, Luka Doncic whenever he's healthy for the Lakers now? You can do that on Underdog coming up soon. But right now, you can go and make your picks for the big game, and I have. Lisa, these are my picks. Jalen Hurts, I'm going higher. 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. I like him on one of those little sneaks, those little tush pushes. I got Hollywood Brown lower than 3.5 receptions. Dallas Goedert higher than 52.5 receiving yards. And Patrick Mahomes higher than 6.5 rushing attempts. All of that at Underdog, and Underdog is the only pick'em platform that puts the power to cash out in your hands. Now you can keep ready with your entry or tap the Win Now button to cash out whenever you want. Of course, Underdog, the best place to play pick'em. Download the app with the code Reign of Troy and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code Reign of Troy, as you're seeing on the screen right now. You must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Massachusetts and Arizona, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Term supply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Alicia, that is our sponsor, Underdog. Tell us your segue about dogs.
Yeah, the Underdog is giving you all sorts of opportunities to liven up watching the big game.
Yeah.
Our new addition, Badger, has livened up our lives by pooping and smearing said poop everywhere he could possibly do, and forcing us to clean up his messes. And that makes us kindred spirits with Jen Cohen. Because she's got the cleaning spray out, she's got the Clorox wipes, and boy, is she buffing it shiny.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Let's get to the news. All right, really quick. A lot of staff stuff which we're going to get to because Jen Cohen putting together that's all those staff picks. Just like you could do it over at Underdog, blah, blah, blah. But it was signing day yesterday, believe it or not. SC had 2 signings.
Wait, so I screwed up another transition?
No, I mean, we could have done the signing stuff at the end.
This is true.
This is more so me, like, doing
just
that
getting
thing
it out of the way.
Being like, we have to stick to the plan. We have to stick to the rundown.
Okay.
Which is 2 new signings for SC. AJ Tuatele from North Las Vegas, 3-star linebacker, number 674 in the 24/7 Sports Composites. And Jaden Ramos, a 3-star defensive end from Conroe, Texas, just north of Houston, ranks 1254 in the 24/7 Sports Composites. Lisa, your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts? SC has wrapped up its recruiting class.
Yeah, I don't have any, I don't have specific thoughts about these guys. I think that they are, at this point, more depth signings than anything. There was never going to be, just because of the nature of signing day, the February period was never going to have very many fireworks for us to talk about. So anyone that USC brought in was going to be more of the sort of depth development kind of projects. I think it's very good that USC, AJ Tuatele is a guy that I think USC actually really needed in terms of the linebacker room. Just looks really
depth.
Yes, looks thin in the figurative sense as opposed to the literal sense. There's just not a lot of guys there, and so Rob Ryan needs guys to work with, and I think Tuatele is a guy who has the sort of basic the base upon which that USC could build something really decent. So Jaden Ramos came kind of out of nowhere, so I know a lot less about him, but getting a late offer when I don't know that USC needed to offer a guy like Jaden Ramos, to me that signals that they see something that they can build in with him. So, they've killed signing day. It sucks. It's sad. Rip to OG signing day excitement. But for now, USC's 14th ranked class. I think you'll take it at this point. I think you obviously want to see a hell of a lot more in terms of the composite rankings going forward, and I think you will, given what we're going to talk about in a little bit. But Hassan Longstreet and Jakeem Stewart basically make the class.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and technically in the 24/7 Sports Composite, only 1 5-star, that's Longstreet, number 25. Jakeem Stewart, he's scraping to get to 5-star status at number 34.
Yeah, I don't...
2 spots off.
Honestly, I have no idea what precipitated the Jakeem Stewart fall down.
Well, he's all over the place. I think 24/7 themselves have him in the 90s.
Yeah, but everybody else has him pretty
really
high.
Yeah, so take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, I don't know how this works.
It's weird because he didn't play as a senior, so I think that makes it...
That's a problem, I think that probably...
For rankings-wise, yeah.
For the rankings, out of sight, out of mind. Guys, the people doing the evaluations have seen with their own eyes other guys who if I were to guess, Jakeem Stewart falling the way that he has more to do with the guys who are being moved ahead of him than with him.
Why is that?
Because like you just said,
you're supposed to say my line. Say the line. Rankings are multidimensional.
Oh, rankings are multidimensional. Yes, that's
Yeah.
your line. Exactly.
That's right.
So, yeah, I think this is all just like a status thing. That what matters is what USC does with Jakeem Stewart when he's on campus, and we will get to find that out pretty soon.
Yeah. All right, before we move on to the staff stuff, Jaden Ramos from Conroe, Texas. I have pulled up the Wikipedia of Conroe High School. I have not looked at it. It's up. But I've not scrolled down on the page. What are we thinking? Name. Conroe High School. What's their mascot?
Conroe High School Cougars.
I'm gonna go Cowboys.
Mm.
It is. Oh, it's boring. It's Tigers.
Well, I mean, Cougars or Cowboys weren't going to
Yes,
be that
but at least they have alliteration.
At least there's alliteration.
Yeah, at least there's alliteration there. All right, let's get to the staff stuff because Jen Cohen buffing up the staff, right? 2 new hires in the last week since we last spoke here in the pod. Dre Brown, in from Illinois, former Illinois running back. He worked with Chad Bowden at Notre Dame. From 21 to 23, they signed some notable players during that time, like Jeremiah Love and whatnot. So, good recruiter, has a lot of high praise coming his way. He went to Illinois, so he went to his alma mater last May and became their director of player personnel. I saw some tweets, people saying that like Illinois' recruiting is the best, like maybe it's ever been right now. And whether that's all Dre Brown, who knows? But he was involved in it, and it's not like Notre Dame is a bad recruiting team, right?
No, absolutely not. Like they are a competitive recruiting team, especially because they're fighting against the tide of like South Bend being what it is.
Yeah.
No offense to South Bend. I just think
you can be offensive to South Bend.
I like South Bend. I just think that South Bend isn't exactly going to attract a lot.
You know what my biggest gripe with South Bend is? I know I just cut you off.
It's very far away from things.
It's that the South Bend Cubs have a dumb logo. If you're going to be the South Bend Cubs, just have the Cubs logo.
Yeah.
Why did you make a new bear that looks corny?
Okay,
what are we doing?
You do you. On Dre Brown.
Yeah.
I'm going to be repeating this quite a bit over this segment. Illinois fans are crushed that he has left. That tells you everything. And quite frankly, like, we have seen USC swing for the fences with sort of support staff hires in the past, but there's always been like one. So in a single year, USC would have, USC got Chad Bowden. Bowden. It's Bowden. Chad Bowden, and like that would have been great move. But USC got Chad Bowden, and then in a single year, if USC just got Zaire Turner, that would be like, great move by USC.
Mm-hmm. And
in a single year, if USC just got Dre Brown, it would be great move.
Yeah.
Now you've added all of them, and that speaks values. I think USC has rated the top recruiter from 1, 2, 3, 4.
Several schools.
It might be 5 different programs,
and
their best recruiter is now at USC.
Yeah, like Wisconsin's best recruiter now at SC. The best recruiter in the Mountain West, Chad Savage, tight ends coach, now at SC. Trevon Reed was raved about for his recruiting efforts in the American.
I think people at UCF would have said he was their best recruiter, yes.
Yeah, and the other guy that comes in is Max Steinecker from Wisconsin. He was Wisconsin's GM and their former director of player personnel. He worked with Bowden at Cincinnati under Luke Fickell. There is a little bit of, I won't call it nepotism in this aspect, but friendly hires going around, right? Like Brown worked with Bowden at Notre Dame. Steinecker worked with Bowden at Cincinnati. Steinecker worked with Fickell at Cincinnati, and that's why Fickell took him to Wisconsin. Like, this is how coaching staffs work.
Yeah.
This is how front offices work. Can it be annoying? Sure. But the key is, and we've talked about this all time, like, it's annoying that SC hires people who know the words to fight on, right?
Yes.
But if you hire people who know the words to fight on, who are also just like objectively good hires, then awesome. Like that's the best case scenario, right?
And we were just talking about that with Nepo babies.
Yeah,
it's not. There's no sin in being a Nepo baby.
Which we're gonna talk about Nepo babies when we're talking about Rob Ryan in a bit, because like he literally talked about nepotism, and I thought was very interesting. And I want to bring out some points about that. But.
So nepotism. I mean, nepotism when it's untoward.
Nepotism can be lazy.
Yes, and nepotism can be lazy and I'm blanking on the word, but like untoward, like you shouldn't do it like in a business practice or that kind of stuff. But from a coaching perspective, if they've earned it, if they are good at their job, having connections, knowing who the guys are that are, or guys or gals are who are good at what they do, there's no problem with that. It's just it's you should be hiring them because you know they're really good, not because they get USC.
Exactly. And you should be hiring Dre Brown because he's good, not because you worked with him at Notre Dame, right?
Yes.
That you worked with him at Notre Dame is a perk because then you've already got the benefit there. That you've worked with Steinecker before at Cincinnati, if you're Chad Bowden, helps that rapport, and so there's less of a culture shock, right?
Yeah.
But you go out and get him because he's good at his job.
Yeah.
These are the rave reviews that people in Wisconsin are saying. The Buck Around podcast, a Wisconsin podcast, episode 344 is titled Max Steinecker and the End of Badger Football.
That's
the end.
Amazing.
It's over. Yeah. Brandon Ains, a 3-star linebacker, I believe, who was committed to Wisconsin for a long time, ended up flipping to Tennessee and signed Tennessee. He's already enrolled in Knoxville. He was interviewed during the fall and said that Max Steinecker, perhaps the best recruiter in the nation. So,
what's funny is that
that's what you want to see.
We're hearing that about Max Steinecker. We're hearing that about Chad Savage. Like, we're hearing that, these are all...
with the recruits, I think the recruits have an interesting perspective because, they talk to a lot of recruiters. I think they're ultimately their opinion matters the most because they're the ones making the decisions on who's going what because of how they're recruited, right? At the same time, I think recruits have a limited scope, right? Like, is he truly the best in the nation because this 3-star linebacker said he is? Maybe, maybe not. But that you can say those things about him, and you get different rave reviews from all over the place. I think is big, and it goes back to what Ryan Abraham at USCFootball.com has always talked about. Go hire someone who is demanded into the point of like people are going to be mad that he left. People are mad that every single one of these people that SC has brought into the staff have left.
Frankly, I want USC to go out and hire everybody who would necessitate a podcast titled Their Name and the Death of Anything.
Right. Like that. If that's the guy that you can bring in, especially somebody in the conference.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to help too, because he's someone who has Midwest roots. Teron Reed has Southeast roots. Chad Savage recruits LA, very good. Like they've gone out, and it's not just the coaches, but the recruiting staff guys as well that have all these different recruits and different sort of pipelines that they can sort of tap into. Chris Trevino, friend of the pod, tweeted out the layout for the front office. So here it is how it stands. General Manager, Chad Bowden. Assistant AD of Recruiting Ops, that's a long-winded title, Zaire Turner, who came over with Bowden from Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Director of Scouting / Personnel is Dre Brown. Director of Recruiting is Weston Zernical? I should have looked this up before we potted. He's been around the staff for a few years. He is, believe he was like one of the player personnel guys. He's going to be director of recruiting. Recruiting strategy is Skylar Fan, who I think came over like last year from North Texas or something like that. High school relations, Drew Fox, and then to be announced is Max Steinecker. We talked about it the last episode. A lot of these titles sound redundant. And part of that is just because they're just titles. They're just titles. Take them for what they are. But the fact that you have that there are such, specificities on what people can do and such depth of the front office is great. Like, that's what you want. That's what you want your college football program to be. Gone are the days where you looked at a coaching staff and it was like, okay, this guy is the running backs coach, the run game coordinator, and the recruiting coordinator. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. He might be the run game coordinator too. He's not the recruiting coordinator. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just on the coaches. It's on all these other guys to make it easier for the coaches to do their job. These guys can, help lay the groundwork, and all of that. It makes it easier for Lincoln Riley. It makes it easier for the coaches. Makes it easier for like a Chad Savage to really get in there and do his job. And Rob Ryan, who's coming in, who's never, done recruiting in the modern era. Last time he was in college football was, quarter century ago. It is a great foundation to have behind all of your recruiting efforts. And we talked about it last week. If you have all of these staffers, if you have a coaching staff, especially on defense, in terms of like assistants that everyone raves about, you have an offensive mind in Lincoln Riley that people rave about, you have a lot of reasons to say that you should be successful. So, go out and do it. Now's the time. Go out and do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way I completely agree with the idea that what USC has done here, in addition to what we'll call a restructuring of the of the football program in terms of like the flow chart.
Yeah.
They've added, to my view, it feels like they've added, 2 or 3 positions. Mm-hmm. Annie Hansen, I think Zaire Turner is a direct replacement for. But most of these other are either, in a shifted role or in an entirely new role.
Look at Weston Zernicle, right? Like, yeah. He was already on the staff and he's staying.
Yeah, he was.
It's not like he's getting bounced because these other guys are coming in.
Yeah, he was the director of player personnel.
Yeah. And
now he's the director of recruiting.
Yeah.
Dre Brown is the director of scouting and personnel. USC didn't, at least from what I can see, did not have a director of scouting before. Drew Fox was the assistant director of player personnel and pro liaison. Now he's high school relations, which is, again, a new title, if nothing else. Mm-hmm. USC still has all of their, other recruiting operations people, to my mind, like Gavin Morris, director of player relations, is still there, all of that kind of stuff. So they've added positions. And if everybody has worked in jobs where you've been doing the work of 3 people and creating a role and inserting one person and having them be able to do even a few tasks that were previously on your docket is a huge, huge, huge change. I've been going through that with my job. We've expanded our staff considerably over the last year. And I laugh at how, the first few years that I worked in the role that I'm in, like, we were understaffed and we were all doing the work of, 5 people, writing, editing, ideating, all this kind of stuff. And now we have like twice as many people who are available to do those things. And we still have a ton of work that we're doing, but it makes a difference when I don't have to worry about, figuring out our content plan for NBA on a random Tuesday night, which is not my strength, but it's something that I would have to do in the past. Now we've got somebody who really understands the NBA and sort of lays out a plan for NBA stuff that like allows me to be able to focus more on college football stuff, which is where my bread and butter is. Like that kind of stuff is huge. You'll see this in the recruiting stuff. Every call that Dre Brown makes that Lincoln Riley no longer has to make. Like the only calls that Lincoln Riley will ever have to make are the ones that are like to seal the deal, to close the deal. The only reason that Rob Ryan is going to be needed on the recruiting trail is he's not going to have to like do the logistics of what is this guy's phone number? How do I find out what coach do I need to contact? All that kind of stuff. Like that's all going to be, the USC is not going to rely on, Eric Henderson, who's an excellent recruiter who really connects with people, but like he's also a position coach. He also needs to focus on the stuff on the field. Yeah. And it's the legwork that a lot of these guys do, and having more people around to do that legwork and to do that recruiting and to do all of those other things allows the coaches themselves to focus on the football, which is where USC's biggest weakness is right now.
Not just the football, but the parts of recruiting that are the most impactful to a recruit, right? Like it is important to have the relationships with coaches, high school coaches, to watch all the film and all that stuff. Absolutely, that stuff is pivotal, which is why it's helpful to have all these other guys and women. But like being able to, have somebody like Dre Brown go up to Rob Ryan and say, "Okay, I know you want a linebacker. Here's 6 options that we looked at. Here's all their film. Here's all their phone numbers. Now you can watch the film and decide how you want to do it." Like, we've vetted these dudes.
Yeah.
If you want to contact them, great. We've already sort of put the legwork in. They know that you might be whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
I think that helps. Yeah. The other thing is I looked up how to say Weston's last name. Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Zernichel.
Yeah.
Zernichel.
Okay.
Yeah. So there we go. Weston Zernichel.
Okay.
Sorry, Weston. We screwed that up.
We corrected it.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the staff press conferences that took place over the afternoon yesterday after signing day. I think the ones that I have notes on really are Chad Bowden, Rob Ryan, and Trevon Reed. Those are the ones that. Well,
the new guys who we've heard from. We know what Eric Henderson sounds like at this point, and he's still very impressive. But
a lot of the old guard didn't have media ops.
Yeah.
But the new guys did. Chad Bowden is interesting. He said, I think, all the right things. He won the press conference. This is going to sound weird. He talks like somebody who knows what the hell is going on. You know what I mean? Like you and I, in our normal lives, talk about how we, as scatterbrained people, get intimidated when people being in the presence of people who just obviously have their shit together.
Yes.
Like Chad Bowden just has his shit together. He knows when the Netflix subscription is hitting his credit card. You know what I mean? He's got that day memorized.
Yeah.
The 14th. Yeah. He knows.
And he doesn't forget. Like, he doesn't forget that there's a due date coming up for.
He does not forget.
He doesn't forget about the water power bill. He
doesn't forget that there's a piece of chicken in the freezer that needs to be taken out to go into the crock pot. The dude's on top of it. He's got his stuff together. He said he loved SC as a kid. Common thing. And it sounded, and that's easy to say. It's easy to say. I think that you're going to say that wherever you go. Maybe not that you love them as a kid, but that you've always had respect for the program, right? But he named off a ton of players and said that when he was a kid, like he was an SC fan watching them from a distance and all that stuff, which is you like to hear that stuff.
You know what's wild?
What?
We've talked about how, like, for a long, long time, recruits would talk about how, oh yeah, I watched Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. Like, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush were the ones. And then it slowly transitioned into, oh, I watched, like, Adoree Jackson or whatever.
Yeah.
And we talked about how, like, USC was going to be slightly in trouble because USC had fewer of those guys the further out USC got because the success wasn't at the same level. I had not considered the ways in which the Leinart and Bush of it all could still benefit USC from a staff perspective of,
because the old generation
of a guy
now,
of the guys who are like in their 30s who are our age, which by the way, guys in their 30s coming up who have that level of respect for what the USC brand is, for what USC means. They remember, and it's kind of cool to see that come around and work in USC's favor again in the way that, you know, the idea is for a Chad Bowden who was inspired by the Pete Carroll era at USC to come to USC. Yeah. Will then build another generation of USC players who inspire the next generation. Like that's I don't know, I hadn't thought of that. It's kind of cool.
In 25 years, there's going to be a kid who won't be a kid by then, who wants to be the director of personnel at FC, and he's like, I grew up watching Jakeem Stewart, and like, you know, when Jakeem Stewart in those classic Big Ten battles between SC and Purdue, when Jakeem Stewart had that like 4-sack performance that like was that I watched it on Big Ten Network back in the day. Maybe that guy will be around.
I watched it I watched them playing in the old Big Ten. You know.
Yeah, the old Big Ten.
The old Big Ten.
Yeah. Back when they had plastic helmets, you know, like. This reminds me of I saw this TikTok where it was from Super Bowl Media Day, where people were asking the players in the Super Bowl what their first Super Bowl memory was as a kid. God, was that a freaking gut punch? Like, what is it for you, by the way?
Like Tom Brady.
What's yours?
My first Super Bowl memory?
Super Bowl memory you can remember. Because mine is going to my cousin's house for Super Bowl 29.
See,
Chargers, Niners.
Oh, see,
I remember exactly where I was. I remember what I ate. I mean, chips, obviously.
The problem is that our friends used to host, Jim and Yvonne used to host the Super Bowl party every year. And so, like, it all blends together. Plus, I remember the Patriots after 9/11 running out with the American flag and it sort of being a big deal.
Well, that's when they stopped doing the individual intros.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, which game do you remember because it was a good game or whatever? But it was jarring, this TikTok.
Oh, I remember who did the Titans play when
Rams.
Was that the one
that was in 2000, the 99 season.
Okay, so that I remember that. I remember the end of that.
That was Super Bowl 34, I think. But I'm watching this TikTok and it's like, yeah, my first one was the one with Cam Newton, Super Bowl 50. And I'm just like, what? One dude was like, yeah, whatever the one in 2017 was. And I'm just, what? What? Lane Johnson said that his was the, Elway helicoptering into the end zone, which I respect. That was another one when I was a kid.
Cam Hammer in the chat also said Elway. I'm assuming it's the same.
But which Elway was in
this
8
is true.
times. That's the thing. He only won 2, but he was in a long time. Ron Murdy says Broncos versus the Cowboys in 78. That's Danny White, I think.
See, Rama Murdy was going through this stuff when we were kids. The whole oh my gosh, these guys.
Mine is when Fred Biletnikoff caught the ball at the Rose Bowl and all right. Anyways, Chad Bowden said SC will be majoring in high school recruiting and minoring in transfer portal. And then maybe this can be, my thought was maybe that's SC's new version of the California versus out-of-state kids. Like, maybe, I have two theories for that idea. First of all, it's a great quote. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But I have two theories. Could that be the new Pete Carroll thing where you only go in the transfer portal for first-round picks? Or, and the analogy I think I like the best is the grocery shopping analogy that I've conjured up. The high school recruits are the things you get at the supermarket when you write out a list. The transfer portal are the things that you have to pick up in the middle of the week because you forgot something. It's a special thing you didn't realize you needed. Or it's like, you know what? We want a new thing, so now I need beef. And I'm going to go get beef. Does that make sense?
Yes. I think that this is the way to do it in the sense of you fill your roster in the old way where you use recruiting to sort of create your basis, and then you fill in the gaps with the portal. Like,
yes.
Like you said, if there's a first round talent out there, you go big for them.
Yeah.
If you end up in a situation where, you know, your recruiting happened and you didn't expect or the you know, things didn't go to plan and you don't have the corners that you thought you were going to need, then you go get a corner. Like that kind of stuff. That's the way. And then your focus in terms of like NIL and revenue share and all that kind of is less about bringing guys in and more about retention. So right. I think that's what maybe has changed the why the transfer portal felt so different this year. I think that there was a year. There was a year. I mean, that year when like Dylan Gabriel and all these kind of people, it was just like crazy how many good players and good quarterbacks were out and available. Because I think a lot of programs weren't recognizing how much they'd need to spend. And now everybody understands what the cost of doing business is. Yeah. And people are keeping people in place. Like a couple of years ago, I think realistically, like Dylan Raiola is gone, you know, like from Nebraska or there's a bunch of other like that you could imagine that would have left just because they weren't enticed to stay or there wasn't enough for them to stay. And I think USC is going to be in a position where you get as many good kids you like out of high school, you develop them, and then if they are great, you do not lose any of them.
Right. Yeah, I think that all makes sense. I think the other thing is I wonder if Chad Bowden's experience of being around his dad, because he talked about like he was a kid in the locker room and like in the clubhouse, as baseball would say, and so like maybe the transfer portal is literally free agency in the sense of like in baseball, free agency is one of two things. It's either the big superstar. Or it's the missing piece, right? Or it's just you're just building depth in your bullpen, right? Yeah. Because ideally you want to build your core homegrown, or through trades with asset management that way, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's going to be sort of the same thing. Like,
well, and it's interesting that the baseball background, because I think it really does. It really does translate completely to the NFL model. You look at the really, really good franchises are not the ones who have to go out and try to build a team via free agency. The really good ones, the really good teams are teams that draft well.
Yeah. Especially since the best players in the NFL never reach free agency.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And so I think applying
Patrick Mahomes is never going to be a free agent.
No.
Unless he's 42.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean?
Like that, and you hold on to the players that you need to. I mean, the Cowboys are a good example of a team that I think is in trouble because they drafted really well, and I don't know that they have a game plan to like keep all the guys that they've drafted, but like there are worse problems to have, I suppose. So you need to be able to do both, and that's that's where the trick is.
Yeah.
But philosophically, I do think that this is the correct way now that NIL, revenue share, all of that is settling. Not that it's settling down, but I think it's like more structured and less, still the Wild West, but like,
yeah,
teams are creating front offices. Like that's,
yes.
yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that Bowden was asked a couple times, like friend of the pod, Keely Orr, opened the questions with basically like, what is a GM? Which is a great question because, you know, what is a GM, right? Like,
Yeah.
And a lot of it is smoke and mirrors in that there is no definitive answer, right? In part because there's always going to be secrecy in recruiting. He's not going to talk about specifics about like the exact types of players that they want from a specific standpoint or whatever it is that's going to give, put an edge out there potentially or whatever. But the other thing is he talked about like this job is constantly changing and that his focus is to do what is the best thing right now. And
well, you know
which
what
is
the
going to be
GM
interesting because you got to be willing to adapt. You know what it's like?
You know what the GM is? In a sense that like I really
You make the same analogy I'm about to make. It's going to be beautiful.
My analogy, it's not so much an analogy. I'm saying like people get mad at Lincoln Riley because he calls plays and he runs the offense and they want him to be more of a CEO.
Right.
You don't need a CEO if you have a GM. The GM literally is doing the job of all of that stuff that people talk about that Riley needs to focus on more. Like that's what the GM does.
Yeah, 100%. Especially when like Gavin Morris is a perfect person to have as the baby kisser.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he's
the GM just has to juggle all of the different people who are doing the more minute jobs.
Have Gavin Morris shake the hands and pose for pictures. Have Dre Brown watch film. Have Chad Bowden sort of manage everything else, and have Lincoln Riley come in and sign the bills into law, right? Like that's how it should work. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We'll talk about Rob Ryan. Rob Ryan presser.
Good God.
Dude. The clip that went viral, I think it was Trojan Blade put it on Twitter, was great.
Freaking
like it's like 2 minutes of him being unhinged or whatever. But
I clicked on that video. I saw somebody else make this comment too, and it was my not to cut you off, but I clicked on that video thinking like, okay, well, it'll be interesting, but like it won't be something that I need to share with people because press conferences very, very rarely actually produce things that like, I've got to share this.
Right.
By the end of it, I sent it to literally everybody I know.
Watch the whole like 19 minutes. It's great because I watched Ryan's video inside Troy on YouTube, and the entire thing, I need someone to make a supercut of Ryan giggling the entire time. Like he's talking to just here. It's so good. It's so good. But so some highlights. We have to talk about the Kaluka Mayava story because he starts talking about how, he came here because these coaches were good and blah, blah, blah. And then, I saw this Mayava kid and, I know Kaluka and, tough as a rattlesnake, which is a great, great metaphor.
Well, he starts out by saying he came in at OTAs and thought this kid was too small and like is not going to make it. And so he rode him really hard in OTAs, and then Kaluka Mayava won him over because he played like a rattlesnake.
Yeah. And then Mayava tells him, you ever go to Hawaii, just tell people that Kaluk's, which by the way, Kaluk's brilliant. That's such a hockty name.
Yeah. Oh, very much.
I love it.
You got to say that with a Canadian accent.
Well,
Kaluk's, Kaluk's, eh?
Kaluk's, eh? With the boys with old Kaluk's.
Yes.
And,
there you go.
They get pucks in deep and get pucks on net. Yeah. Yes. Kaluk's, and so he talks about this story about how he goes to Maui with his wife, and needs to rent a car. There's no rent a car, and he's like, I know Kaluk's. And then he gets a rental car, and he's like, swear to God this happened, which usually is code for this definitely didn't happen, but maybe it did.
But he tells a great story.
Maybe it did. Whether or not it did or not, I'm believing it. And we got to add, I know Kaluk's to the soundboard, especially
yes.
when we're talking about Kaluka Mayava, because Jaden Mayava, because that leads us to talking about a new super chat we got from Fighting on MC. This is, I can't wait for the quarterback competition. Neither can Rob Ryan. He's not coaching him, but he can't wait. Also, the Rob Ryan comment where he's like, can't wait for this JUCO kid, like basically saying like, yeah, we're gonna kick this kid's ass in practice, like talking about the new running back that SC got from the JUCO level.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
love it.
I love the way he talked about Kaluka Mayava, like going like, I thought this kid was nothing.
Yeah,
and then he showed me like, and that really speaks to who Rob Ryan is as a coach. I think that what I want from a coach is, I don't want someone who plays favorites because they just make they have an impression of somebody and they just roll with that. Mm-hmm. I love the idea of a coach who comes in, sees somebody, thinks that kid's not gonna make it.
Yeah, let's
push him. Let's see what he does. And then when the kid or the man, as in this case, responds and proves themselves, then turns into, man, I love that guy. Like,
yeah,
it can be won over because of the way that you approach football. And you can tell that Rob Ryan just loves the game.
Yes.
And I think he'll appreciate other guys who love the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to be tough on guys, but the way that he projects is that, I mean, obviously we don't know. We're not in the room with him. We're not on the field with him. But like, you want that Coach O type character who is, driving guys into the ground, but earning respect for it. And
ideally not like covering up sexual assault and stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm talking more about what he did on the, on the practice field.
No,
yes.
Obviously. Yes.
Yeah. But like, Rob Ryan projects in that kind of way where it's like this larger than life figure who takes things very seriously while also not, like, while also being
doesn't
weird.
Take himself too seriously.
Yes,
but
he takes things seriously.
He has a very good comfort to like, he's not cocky, but he knows his self-worth, but is also self-deprecating at the same time. That I wish I could be that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm too Mr. Negative on myself to ever be that way. But either way, he's going to be super excited for the quarterback competition. So is Fighting on MC. Does the quarterback competition rank among the things you're looking forward to for, as Rob Ryan would say, in this spring ball thing that's coming up? Where's it rank? Is it high for you? Or do you think the quarterback competition is non-existent?
I think it's non-existent. Wow. I've been
pessimistic. Alicia is out in full force.
No. That's not necessarily pessimism. Not necessarily pessimism. You don't have to have a quarterback competition to end up with a good quarterback at the end. Like, sure. I think what I want is for Jaden Mayava to develop into a quarterback that can play 4 quarters of what he did in the fourth quarter against Texas A&M, and never ever show us what he was for the first 3 quarters against Texas A&M ever again. That's what I want from Jaden Mayava going into the season. It would be a
great story if Jaden Mayava really took a big step forward this year.
Yeah.
And then you could be like, man, and look at all his growth, because you remember the second quarter against Texas A&M, whatever it is,
when we were talking about, when we were literally at halftime, you and I were asking each other, everyone on Twitter was asking each other, what were the worst quarterback performances in USC football history?
Where does this rank?
Where does this rank? Yeah. If he settles in and develops and becomes a really good quarterback, that's awesome. But I don't think that's going to happen because he's in a quarterback competition, because let's be real, he's not in a quarterback competition.
I have been on the record. Hassan's going to come in and just win it.
I have been on the record. I do not think that Hassan Longstreet is the kind of prospect that comes in like a JT Daniels and immediately wins a starting job. I don't think he's that polished. I don't think I do not think that has ever been the plan for Hassan Longstreet. Now, could he land on campus and make it a battle? I would love that if he makes it a battle.
But okay, back to JT really quick.
But every single thing that Lincoln Riley has said, since the end of that Texas A&M game has indicated 1,000,000% Maava is the guy.
Devil's advocate, I think it is good, even if it's a little, it could be not maybe what fans want to hear or whatever. I think there is a world in which you have to play the game of stoking Maava's ego. I mean, not his ego, but like building him up.
Building confidence.
Confidence. Like belief in him going into the offseason, absolutely. And if that's what a lot of this is, great. Like I get it. It's different because you see people like, Nick Saban, who like not going to name his starting quarterback, even if it's the Heisman Trophy winner. Like, we're not going to talk about that until the halftime of the first game or whatever it is. Yeah. There's different styles for how you're going to do this. How the season pans out is how ultimately it's going to be judged. And we'll see that way. But going back to JT really quick before we go back to Rob Ryan, because I got more Rob Ryan stuff. JT beat out Fink and Sears. And for what it's worth, JT Daniels was very ballyhooed coming out of Mater Dei. He had reclassified, so he was a little bit on the younger side. But there was a lot of hype. So, like, I'm not saying that he wasn't the type of guy who people would have expected to play as a freshman anyways, but he beat out Jack Sears and Matt Fink. If he would have beaten out Darnold or Max Brown, somebody who had come in with a lot of recruiting hype themselves, I think it would be a little bit of a different story. So, like, I see what you're saying about Hassan Longstreet not being a 5-star day one starter in the JT Daniels sense or whatever.
Very talented. Like he's going to be a hell of a quarterback.
But I don't think Jaden Maava is unbeatable in a competition.
No, I don't think so.
Just like Sears and Fink were not unbeatable in a competition. So if there is a competition, I think Longstreet could potentially. I don't know. But then again, a year ago, I said the same thing about Miller Moss. So what do I know? So.
I mean, yeah, we thought that Maava was going to push Miller for the starting job, and
it didn't happen.
He eventually did, but clearly not in the offseason they did, he clearly put himself up there enough that they considered him midway through the season.
Right.
But he didn't, win that job. So, who knows? Maybe Longstreet comes out and balls out, but I don't think that beating out Longstreet and the Heward, I forget his first name, but I don't think either of those quarterbacks are like, in terms of like where they would have been in terms of perception going into
you
that
can say
spring.
That for all of them, right?
I think Fink and Sears would be ahead of Longstreet and Heward in terms of potential to compete for, a starting job. And I'm a noted, Matt Fink gal. I appreciated Matt Fink.
You still watched the run that he had against Oregon State.
All I'm just going to say is YOLO Ball was a hell of a night. So
I prefer those to be Michael Pittman highlights, but sure. Yeah.
I mean, this is very true. And that does make a difference for sure, because whichever quarterback is out there, they having a Michael Pittman type would go a long way.
Or an offensive line.
Yeah. I just I'm just not I am not expecting a competition outside of the normal noises that happen. Yeah, of course, every position is competition. Like,
sure.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, one of those positions that will have competitions.
As Rama Murdy says, you don't want players thinking they have a job won already, so you tell them they're in the competition even if they're not. Yeah, that's basically the quarterbacks for me right now.
No, I agree, which is why I think that it's sort of notable that Lincoln is not doing that. You know what I mean? To your point, I think that is notable that he's not doing that. Probably means that there won't be as much of a competition as I wish there would be. And again, last year should have been an indicator that if Mayava and Miller weren't on even footing going into that season, then definitely Mayava and Longstreet are not going to be. But we'll see.
You know what? Honestly, sorry, not to extend this out. Honestly, I think that Hassan Longstreet would be a much, much more viable quarterback to actually be able to start this year if USC had won their close games this past season. Like, if USC's record is closer to 9-3, if the bowl win is like a 10th win or whatever, and Riley isn't sort of on what amounts to a hot seat if you took his contract out of the equation.
But
I think that Riley has a lot less wiggle room to take the risk of starting a true freshman.
I hear what you're saying. I could easily just spin that around and say that they were 7-6 is more leeway to make a risky change. I think you could argue.
Well, and then I could argue that Jaden Mayava was 3-1.
Well, yeah, you could go either way with this. You could go, but I think the other thing is if SC was 9-3, Miller Moss is your quarterback right now.
This is true. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Other position that will be having a competition is linebackers. So to go back to Rob Ryan stuff, he raved about the defensive players, Eric Gentry, and he mentioned that safety. He loves that safety. That safety is so good. That safety that Denton Lynn has, that safety.
You know what I like about that, though, is that, and this is my headcanon, so take it for what it is, but
Sure.
like, you say that about a guy when you have only watched tape and noticed them and said, oh, that safety, like the safety that I saw, but I wasn't specifically looking at number 7. So I don't know. I don't actually know number 7's name, but I'm watching the game and going like, damn, number 7, that safety, hell of a player.
If he's watching film and hyper focused at just the linebackers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And noticing that safety.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like when you're watching another team and you're like, geez, that linebacker just keeps killing him.
I don't know that guy's name.
Right. Yeah. No, yes. He did talk about Des Stevens. Raved about Des Stevens too.
I need that those raves to become.
You just called him Des. I like that.
I like that too. Des Stevens is much better than Desmond Stevens as a name. I'm embracing Des Stevens. That's him from now on. That I like that change.
Where are you on Desmond Farmer versus Des Farmer?
Des Farmer. I don't like the name Desmond. Not that I don't like the name Desmond. I just find it an awkward.
I think of my first algebra teacher, Mr. Jim Desmond.
Oh, never had a
Rest in
Desmond.
peace.
Either way, I need Des Stevens to be ready to go.
Yeah.
If Des Stevens is ready to go this year, my outlook for the defense as a whole rises to much, much, much more comfortable levels than where I'm at right now, which is I know that Eric Gentry is a damn good linebacker.
Yeah.
I think that Des Stevens can be a good linebacker. I don't know if he's ready to start full time, and I do not trust Gentry to be healthy the whole way. So I am projecting out, oh God, USC could end up starting linebackers Des Stevens and Elijah Newby, who also, I think these kids have a lot of potential. I just don't know that I want to see them starting right now yet.
Hey, at the end of the season, he's going to be Elijah Veteran.
I like it.
That was good. Yeah.
I'm going to give you that one.
Thank you. Okay, last thing to mention about Rob Ryan, he talked about nepotism. And it was so interesting because he talked about coaching, it's all nepotism. Like, heck, I'm only in this business because of nepotism. I'm a nepo baby. Like he's talking about because of course his dad, arguably the greatest defensive coordinator in the history of football, Buddy Ryan. And he talked about how one of the reasons that he picked SC is because he saw the coaching staff, not just Lincoln Riley, and how Lincoln Riley is regarded. He mentioned him in the same vein as like a Sean McVay in terms of how he's regarded schematically, right? But like the coaching staff around Danton Lynn, he's worked with Danton Lynn before and raves about his time with Danton Lynn. He knew Anthony Lynn and all that stuff. But like talked about this is an opportunity for him to come to college around great coaches, great assistant coaches, all of that, and show his son what coaching is like around great coaches. And he wanted to give that opportunity to his son the way that his dad gave him and Rex an opportunity when they were kids, which I thought was very interesting. Because he's sort of speaking the quiet part out loud about the nepotism stuff, because we all know that coaching is very nepotistic, sports in general, so much nepotism everywhere. And I think you could look at SC's coaching staff and Chad Bowden, Rob Ryan, and just go down the list of look at people, SC recruits legacies all the time and all that kind of stuff, and say, oh, nepotism bad. But he also made the point of yes, it was nepotism for me to get involved with the industry, but I've been coaching for 40 years. You don't coach for 40 years because your last name is Ryan. At some point you have to do your own job, right? To be around that long, which I think it's a valid point. And I think that there's some self-awareness there, and which is, encouraging. And sort of, I think there's a way to look at this like the LeBron and Bronny stuff. As much as the Bronny stuff with the Lakers makes me want to gag, at the same time, I do think that you could look at it and say, wouldn't you want this for your kid? Probably. Wouldn't you want to give your kid the best opportunity that they could? Probably. Wouldn't you want if you could do this, wouldn't you want to do that? Yes, you would. Because that's what you're giving your kid the best opportunity they can to go forward, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened to him, and he's just paying it forward. So I like the honesty there.
Well, and again, it comes back to if you are a parent and you have the opportunity to give your child a leg up by giving them valuable experience and giving them insight into the profession that you are very good at, and that helps them get a job, you're gonna do that, Yeah. And the only thing that the nepotism becomes bad is if you get them a job that they're not qualified for.
Or if they Lance Stroll their way through it. It's Lance Stroll, getting into racing, understandable nepotism.
Yes.
Lance Stroll being in F1 for 8 years when the dude is god-awful, embarrassing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's
when there
different
are
ways.
a lot of other guys who are
Ken
more
Griffey
qualified.
Jr.? We don't mind the nepotism
No.
of Ken Griffey Jr. Why? Because he was good.
We mind Bronny James because it feels like he's in the NBA right now.
Strictly because
of his father, which that's weak.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm at though. He talked about wanting to have his son be around the coaching environment, right? So one of his sons, Joe,
is this the model?
Is the model.
Yeah. Before we started potting, I was Googling.
I was trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
The other son, who I assume is the one he's talking about, is Matthew, who was a walk-on at Clemson. I feel very sorry for him as he tries to enter the football world as a profession, potentially.
Because his name is Matt Ryan?
His name is Matt Ryan. Well, hold on. No, this is Rex Ryan's son. Matt Ryan, you do a search for Matt Ryan and you're not going to get anybody who isn't Matt Ryan.
No, I beg to differ because I just Googled the senior vice president of the Clemson Tigers is Matt Ryan.
Is that him?
No, it's a different one.
Oh.
Maybe this is why he's Matthew.
Is he Matthew Ryan? I can
it
find
looks like
zero information about this person. And it makes me wonder, is he going to come in could he come in as a GA? Will he have a role in the program? I don't mind if that's the case, intern or whatever it is, but it does sound like that's, so I want to know about him, whatever.
Wait, hold on. I've got a Google hit. Nope,
Okay.
different Matthew Ryan.
Nope.
Never mind. There's too many. It's like Joe Smith.
I'm just saying it's not a distinct name.
Well, this is like I have Michael Castillo as a Google Google News alert. I get an email every day about another Michael Castillo that has broken the law somehow, DUI, or randomly it'll be like high school kids, like Michael Castillo of the sophomore for Conroe, the Conroe Tigers throws 6 shutout innings. It's like, oh yeah, hell yeah. Or there was one the other day that was like Michael Castillo, the VP of this nonprofit. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like whatever it is, yeah. All right. Javon Reed said that he loved SC as a kid and that this was a dream to come out here. Again, these are the easy things to say when you go to a new school, but also like given the age and everything, it checks out. Right?
I was gonna say again, it's like the Pete Carroll era is still yielding sort of legacy benefits.
Still fruits on that tree.
Fruits on that tree longer than I sort of would expect it because of these guys. Yeah. Trevon Reed is 34 again. He's younger than us, and that is a thing that we are processing. But obviously, he grew up in the height of the Pete Carroll era. USC was the thing when he was growing up, and that's. Hopefully USC can ride these guys into building that new generation.
Yeah, we'll see. Javon Reed also said that he's passionate and he wants to be right in there in the trenches with the players. He's like, I'm probably going to get a penalty or two, but it'll be worth it in the end. So you love a dude that's passionate. So we'll see how that all goes. There's a bunch of more stuff on the press conferences. Go watch them online. Like every outlet filmed them. You can watch Ryan's to hear him giggle with Rob Ryan. It was so good. But that's how the press conferences went. We're gonna wrap this thing up there because we've made it through the whole thing without a little murmur from Little Badger.
We've gotten over an hour of Badger sleeping.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. However, he did have some water earlier, so we may be nearing
a URINE.
Yes, a time to go outside, but he's sleeping. He's deep sleeping. He's doing that deep stomach breathing.
Getting that deep.
Getting that deep.
Okay, before we leave, I just wanted to talk about one thing. I want to talk about this on the pod because I was thinking about this before we got a dog, before all these other things that we added before we got a second dog, before we added all these other things to the board.
Jesse.
To the run. What? Did Jesse come in?
No, I'm just saying poor Jesse.
Oh yeah,
because we got a dog. Second dog.
Hey, Jesse's hiding away.
She is.
But I wanted to talk about. You and I are big fans of Rob as a podcast.
Yes. Highly recommend. If you watch reality TV, if you like Survivor, Big Brother, The Traitors, they do housewives stuff and everything. They do everything reality. Rob has a podcast. Great network of shows. Highly recommend.
Yeah. Rob Marty says, "Can we see Badger next time?" Rewind this to the beginning.
I can wake him. He does need to get woken up. So
okay. Well,
let me tell your story. Yeah,
and we'll end it. So there's a new podcast over there it's called the Puya and Liana Lounge with Puya and Liana, and they're great. And in a lot of ways, I think they're the reality TV version of you and me.
The married couple podcasters. Yeah.
I swear, everything Puya says is like, that's me. Anyways. She asked him what one of his bucket things was in life, and he says having a sandwich named after him.
Oh, that's a good one. That's good.
So my question to you here you go. I'm ready. There's
little guy.
Here's the little man, Mr. Badger.
Mr. Badger.
Right. If you had a sandwich named after you, what would it be?
It would be at Ike's. It would be. I would take my Ike's order that is hard to order because it's a combination of an old. I would basically take the old Robin Williams and Lizzie's Lips and like turn it into the thing that I want, which is the fried chicken, or do they call it fried breaded chicken, whatever?
Yeah,
fried chicken, pepper jack. I put mushrooms on there. Caesar dressing. I'm forgetting what else
Dirty
is on it.
sauce.
Dirty sauce, yeah.
On Dutch Crunch.
On Dutch Crunch, yes.
Okay. If I ever thought about this question, it'd probably be some sort of version of, like, I would always think that it would be some sort of version of, like, to go off the Ike's thing, like the Super Mario, but with chicken. So it was like a chicken parm that had mozzarella sticks on it or something like that. Especially because I've always been an HSKG, hot sandwich kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my new thing, like the thing I'm obsessing over, like right now, or we gotta eat dinner. Like there's part of me that just wants to make my sandwich, which is, here it is. I'm gonna give you the recommendation for the Michael sandwich. White bread, mayo, good lather of mayo on there. One slice of Kraft singles on each side of the bread. Then, a few slices of turkey breast, lunch meat. Put it together. Then open off the top again, and put in a layer of potato chips.
Oh yeah.
Ideally, Wavy Lays or Ruffles, A+. Wavy Lays or Ruffles, ideally there because it's crispier. Mm-hmm. But Doritos on there.
I love Doritos on a sandwich.
Chef's kiss. Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna wrap it up there. Badger's getting a little rambunctious little fella. Look at him. We promise he's not on meth.
This little guy.
Not this Badger.
No, not this Badger.
Yeah. All right, we will catch you guys next time. We promise, for real. I hope.
Okay.
Wednesday at 4.
We said last week, and we were gonna stick to it. Wednesdays at 4. Did you
say we were eating at 4?
Yeah, we're gonna stick to it because by next week, hopefully, this little guy will not be unsettling our lives.
He's still going to be an emotional and mental terrorist by then.
Yes,
probably.
But we don't negotiate with terrorists.
That's right. Yeah. Famous words from Alton Brown. Yeah. All right. Until next time, we will see ya.
See ya.
See ya.
Want to say bye-bye?